Hey everyone, Carrie here. So if you watched my low-level mage showcase video earlier at level 35 using all of the spells, this is the full guide walkthrough showing how to make that build for anyone unfamiliar with creating a magic character or is just not sure how to do all of the quest lines. This is going to be a very long video. I'm not going to be able to show you every single spell location or talisman. I'm going to stick to the basics of what makes this build, and I'm going to be showing you on the map where I go at all times. So let's get right into it. First thing, obviously we're going to be starting as the Wretch, as I mentioned in the first video, as that gets us 10 stats in all of the attributes and remaining at level 1. So once we've got our cool character created and we're satisfied, I took the golden seed. You of course can do whichever you'd like there. Also, it's worth mentioning to make sure along the way you stop and examine all of these effigies and activate them. That is very much going to help you when doing any type of co-op, because you can send your sign to all of those now with an update. Alright, so right after you get the ring there from the maiden, just at the gate front, pretty obvious location, gate front runes. So we're just going to head over to this dungeon here, where we can head down and collect the whetstone knife, which I use on my shield and a couple different weapons in order to put no skill on, or the bloodhound step. And while it is nighttime, I would recommend returning to the Church of Ella, so that way you can get this spirit calling bell. So now moving forward here, Stormhill Shack, if we head over here to this marked location, you'll be able to collect a Starlight Shard. And you don't want to use that. We're going to be collecting a few of those along the way, and they're all very useful. So just right there from War Master's Shack, we're heading to this blue marked location. And if you ride around back here inside the chest, that's where we're going to get the Beast Crest Heater Shield, which I enjoy using. Okay, so the blue marker right here, that's where we were. Now we're just up here in front of the Death Touch Catacombs. So I'm just going to show you the quick, fast route in to grab the katana. It's not a main weapon that we use, but it will come in handy in a little bit for the bleed effect that it has. So if you just run exactly how I do, that is how you get the katana. Pretty straightforward for that one. So then I'm just over here at the third church. And when you activate that site of grace, just make sure you grab the Wondrous Physic Flask. And there is a crystal tear there that you can grab as well, and a sacred tear. So may as well grab them while you're here. So now just down a little ways across the bridge from Agiel Lake North. Just coming up on this hillside here, you can get the gold pickled fowl foot, which we're going to use later on. So from the same lake, but the south location, there's a few items up here we're going to grab. So I'm going to show you where those are from the site of grace. There's one of those spring jumps right here that you can use to get yourself up. And that will lead us to another Starlight Shard. And then since we're so close by it, there is a spell book here. I actually can't remember what spells we get from that one. I believe Carrion Slicer is one of them though. So it is very worth grabbing. Alright, so on your way to the peninsula, you'll find the Castle Morn Rampart site of grace and another spring jump where you can collect a Starlight Shard. And if you'd like to, that tower right there, you can head over and collect a memory stone inside by solving the puzzle. So on the peninsula, just a little ways up to that church site of grace there. Instead, if you take a right, you can come down this hill first and collect the Faith Knot crystal tear. Okay, so at this point, I've gone back to the third church. And actually hiding behind the third church, there is one of those teleport stones. So now is when I decide to use that, which takes us over to Caelid. So right there, that's where it will take you. And you can just kind of progress through Caelid. I would recommend opening up a lot of Sites of Grace, collecting those map pieces. So once you've done that, Church of the Plague, that should be one of the Sites of Grace you've unlocked. And right behind it, through this cemetery, you will find another Starlight Shard. So make sure you come and grab that. Alright, so at the Swamp Shore, I've marked a couple locations here. There's a couple items that we're going to need. I would recommend doing this on your horse, as you won't get Scarlet Rot from that. So right here, you just dismount and you can walk around behind it. And you can safely collect the Meteorite Staff. And then we're going to ride across here. And if you pick up this item here, that's going to be a nice armor set that you can use right away. But the main reason we're there is for that perfume bottle. And then right down here, through the door and in the chest, is where we'll collect Rock Sling. Very powerful spell. One of the main ones that I use. So then just back at Fort Faroth, you just run through that area and up the ladder. You'll collect that half of the medallion. And then I'll show you running through this location here. Very, very straightforward. I'm sure most of you know how to collect that, but we're going to show it anyways, as we do need the item for the Radagon's Sword Seal. So if you pair the Sword Seal with the katana here, you can kill the big dragon out front of Fort Faroth. And as you kill him, go ahead and eat that pickled foot. So that way you can yield as many ruins as possible. Alright, so at that point, I've now decided it is time to go to the Roundtable. When you're in here, there is a merchant, and I choose to buy quite a few items. I buy some armor, the dagger which is needed, I buy the memory stone, a couple stone keys, and I also pick up the short spear and the long sword, as those are the two weapons I like using. And I put the remaining points into my intelligence. Remember, if you're staying level 35, you don't want to go past 44. I didn't quite have enough to get there, so we'll finish it off later. And now that we have some spell power, we are just above the Death Touch Catacombs, where we'll find this guy. And once you kill him, that's where you collect the Golden Vow Ash of War, which I choose to apply to my dagger. And that will give me a buff. Right close by, War Master's Shack, where you can purchase the No skill, which I put on the shield, to allow for Bloodhound stepping once we collect that Ash of War a little later on. Okay, so from the Farum Great Bridge, if you were to ride down it, you'll end up at this side of Grace right here. And you have to wait till nighttime for this boss to come out. And my typical strategy is to have him follow me around this corner up onto the tree branch. And he typically gets stuck right there. So then we can just sit here and spam Rock Sling. Don't forget your Golden Vow buff to obviously do more damage per hit. That might happen, I guess, which will speed this process up a little bit. So I'm not sure if that gets patched later on. If he no longer offs himself from a later patch, you can still just kill him with Rock Sling. Anyways, that got me back to level 44 now. And now we're just at Fort Height, because that is where the other half of the medallion is, in order to reach the Altus Plateau. So same thing, you just run through up the ladder, and you'll collect that. Pretty straightforward. Alright, so Waypoint Ruins, just right there. Again, don't forget to be activating those effigies. Now this fight might be a little challenging. I would definitely recommend having your spirit summon for a lot of these fights going forward. I don't think I bring them in for most fights that I'm using, as I'm rushing to make this build, so I never upgraded my spirit summons. I would certainly recommend you guys find a spirit summon you like, upgrade them a little. But of course for this boss here, you can just kind of keep your distance and cast Rock Sling when safe. And that will unlock our first quest giver here, Sorcerer Sellen. So once you exhaust her dialogue there, you can give her any scrolls you have and just buy out as many of her spells as possible. Big one there being Caria Slicer from that spellbook. Alright, so at this point I was ready to go fight Margit. I was feeling pretty stacked. There is also that NPC summon that you can grab to help out, and if you wanted you could even go with your dogs as well if you still have those as a spirit summon. Naturally, if you do bring in the NPC, the boss will aggro to him, basically for the whole fight, so you could just sit back and cast Rock Sling. Again, don't forget your Golden Vow. And you should make short work of Margit. Awesome, so that's going to be our second talisman pouch. So then at this point, I would recommend taking your time going through the castle. There is a lot of items, so again, take your time, go slow. Again, I'm rushing for this build, so I just kind of went speedrun strats there to get to the boss as quickly as possible and move on. There is a golden seed in there and some other goodies, so perhaps take your time, collect what you need before reaching the boss. I made sure to backtrack just slightly from the boss so I could take Nephelian. Again, that's completely optional. But same thing, it's just going to be sitting back, casting spells, pretty straightforward stuff. And when the boss does throw this whirlwind attack at you, your shield does block 100% physical, so you won't take any damage from that. It's not until phase 2 when he buffs it with fire, that's when you'll take a bit of fire damage. Yeah, Caria Slicer works really nicely there, so you can run in close and get some big damage dealt. Yeah, the damage from Rock Sling is just disgusting, considering that we don't even have this build at max yet. Only, I think, one talisman, if we have any on right now that are buffing us. I didn't even see the Golden Vow buff on me, so yeah, that damage is just ridiculous. So just after that boss, right outside here at this church, you can speak to that NPC in there if you'd like. And right in the graveyard as well, there is another scroll book that you can turn in. I'm actually not sure what that one gives. I know it exists, but I don't know if it's worth it. So here is the next area, the Liurnia Lakes. This is kind of what it looks like. I'd recommend, again, just ride through all of it, get as many sites of grace, get the map pieces, so then you can jump around to the locations that I'm showing. So the Purified Runes, there's a little hidden spot right here. And that'll be the Two Fingers Heirloom. That will get us a boost to faith. So then there is a crystal cave there, right from the water. You can access that cave. Might be a little tough, but some magic should get you through it, no problem. And this fight is actually quite difficult. I believe I took my dogs with me, but they are unleveled and did not do much for me. Basically, it was just casting Rock Sling until the enemy's guard broke, because they've got a very hard exterior and will take almost no damage until you break their guard there. As you can see, then Rock Sling becomes highly effective. And the reason we're down here is because after killing them, you do get a spell, but you can continue past their boss room to the top where you'll get Terra Magica. So that, paired with Golden Vow, those are two really big buffs. Very nice to have. So then just right here, you hop down. And sticking close to the cliff at the back here is where we'll find the Intelligence Knot Crystal Tier, guarded by some hands. Alright, so then a little ways over to the right there, or east I guess, and that's going to be the Erd Tree. So we're going to want to hop down and kill this guy, as I believe this is where we get our Magic Shrouding Crack tier, which is just a disgusting buff to our magic, so we want to get that as early as possible. So I bring the dogs with me, I get all my buffs in order, and that allows me to get a few good casts off for damage before he gets a little close. And then I just wait until he is aggroed onto my dogs, and while he's busy with them, I finish him off safely. Somewhat safely, but it works. Yeah, so the Magic Shrouding Crack tier, so that's going to be a giant buff, so you want to make sure you get that in there ASAP for your Wondrous Physic Flask. So then from this little island here, the Scenic Isle, I think that Set of Grace was called. If you set it to nighttime and ride over here to this structure that I marked, you'll get invaded by the Deathbird boss. Oddly enough, you can just sit up here, get your buffs in order, and for the most part, just safely kill him. He is one of the earlier on Deathbirds, so naturally he's not actually that tough. But if you'd like, you could still just park it up here and eliminate him. Yeah, I'm not sure if they'll patch that. That's going to be interesting. But that'll get you the Red Feathered Branch Sword. So that's when your health is incredibly low, you'll get a damage buff. Now we're actually inside the Magic Castle there. So another scroll that I showed off. And when you come up front there, that's the boss straight ahead. Secret door on the left. That will get you Comet, which is just absolutely disgusting for damage. And we should be able to already use it with the buffs we have. And continue following the path here that I'm showing, and we'll get another magic boosting talisman, the Graven School Talisman. So if we get all of those buffs on, you'll notice I can't use Comet until I drink my Physic Flask, because I have that intelligence knot in there. So for 3 minutes, now my intelligence is boosted, and I can use Comet. This boss is actually incredibly aggressive. I would recommend bringing in a Spirit Summon. And once he is distracted with those spirits, once they stop being useless here, then your Comet should absolutely destroy him. Oh man, nearly half his health in one cast. Having some technical difficulties there. I guess I didn't realize I was short on mana, but there he goes. Okay, so now we're at the debate parlor inside the Magic Castle. So this is going to be quite a run here. It's going to be full of enemies for you. I've cleared them all to make this path quite simple to follow. But you're going to exit, take the right there, up this ladder, following it around. And there'll be a chest up here where you'll get the Radagon icon. So if you continue onward, I guess I missed those pots. Up here we'll get the whetstone for the glintstone one to apply frost and magic to our weapons. There's a door shortcut you can open there. And then you continue parkouring across the rooftops for a bit here so we can grab some nice items. Again, it's going to be full of enemies, so make sure you have a lot of blue flasks with you and just keep fighting from a range. And you should be able to eliminate them safely. It should only take you a couple tries to get through this if you're not used to these rooftops. But yeah, just follow the jumps that I make. So this is important. You want to go in through this way first and collect this off the chandelier, as we're going to need it later. When you drop down, there is a spell you can collect as well. I'm not a big fan of that spell, but it's there nonetheless. And then outside here around the corner is that little magic crab. I think I kind of overkilled with the buffs there, but that is how you get the Twin Sage Glintstone Crown, which is probably never coming off once you get it. So if we go back to this NPC here that I mentioned earlier, you can give him that key. And he gives you this Jester. So now if you go back to where we were killing that one Erd tree, we're going to ride over here to this castle. Or, yeah, I guess it's a castle. Very small one. And it's got a seal right here that we need to break. So in order to dispel it, we need to be wearing one of these crowns. And then we simply use that Jester. So up top there, that is where we'll get some really good spells. The Cannon of Hanma and the Hammer. Those are incredibly powerful. Two of my favorite spells, really. Okay, and then now we're back over here in Caelid. If you ride around this castle to the far left side of it, if you're facing it, it's going to be these guys here. I was testing out potentially sneaking behind them to collect this item. Sadly, I was detected, but that's how you get Flame Grant Me Strength. And that will give you a very large damage bonus, especially to your Rock Sling spell for the physical damage portion of that spell. Now this one you guys might not be ready for, so unless you have some good spirit summons, this fight actually can be quite tough. I basically did this fight horseback and just rode around casting Rock Sling and Comet at him to kill Commander O'Neill. It's a very, very annoying fight with all of his summons. But I'm sure after a couple tries, once you get used to that, you should be able to eliminate him. And that's where we'll get the unalloyed golden needle, which is a quest item. So down from the church, kind of in between those two locations, I'm on the cliff up top. You can parkour your way down there, just shimmy down into Gowry's shack. So you can hear his request. Give him the needle. And then if you quit out of the game, he is done working on it when you load back in. So then we can warp up to the Site of Grace and give that to her. So again, once you give her the needle, she needs a moment. So again, if you just fast travel back to that Site of Grace, she'll now be on her feet, good to go. She'll give you a talisman. But now when you return to the shack down here to speak with this guy, now he opens up his shop for us. So I'd very much recommend picking up Night Maiden's Mist. That is a very good situational spell. Okay, so we're in Caria Manor now. So once you've made your way through Caria Manor, this boss can be difficult because it is a magic boss. So I believe Rock Sling is going to be super effective here, especially with all of our new buffs. So make sure you get all of those in order. And definitely take the dogs for this one. Hopefully by this point though you guys have found a better spirit summon and perhaps leveled them up a bit. My dogs did not last very long. But the damage Rocksling does is truly disgusting to this boss, so did not take long. So that'll get you a spell right there. Loretta's Great Bow, really good spell. But the big reason that we did that is to come up here to speak with Ranni, as she is the next big quest that we need to take on.
No reason input's intriguing.
Alright, so once you've done all of the Ranni stuff and you can fast travel again and leave her tower, over there in the distance, the tower I just marked, that is one of the little ghosts you spoke to. He said he has a tower over here. This is him. So you want to go ahead and accept his task, and he's going to give you the potion he's made. And we're going to have to follow his quest line a little, which is a little bit lengthy, but it needs to be done. At the top of his tower as well, there is a memory stone, so feel free to go collect that. So at this point now, I'm using the 2 halves of the medallion to access the Altus Plateau. We're going to take a break from doing those quests because there's some items to grab up here, and then we're going to bounce back to those. Okay, so hopefully you guys have found most of the map pieces up here, or at least the one on the kind of northwest area. And if you see where I am here, it's right in front of the Perfumer's Ruins. So I come in here, there's quite a few enemies really, but Night Maiden's Mist and just a Comet will clear most of them. And that's where you'll get the Perfumer's Cookbook, where you can make that aromatic spell that I like to use. And 2 perfume bottles actually. So that's the little bubble when you have the materials to make it. That lets you tank a hit basically. So then again at the Lux Ruins there, you can kind of parkour up the backside here. It's a bit of a shortcut. So get all your buffs in order really quickly here, so we can make short work of the demi-human queen boss. Alright, and after killing her, right behind the boss fight there is the Ritual Sword Talisman, which is a 10% buff as long as you're at full health. Alright, so now I'm just standing here in front of the Ulcerated Tree Spirit boss, and this is how we get the hidden tier. To get to this location, I started at the Bridge of Inequity, and I followed that path around the mountain up to that campsite, Site of Grace, and then you fall down the side to the Road of Inequity instead of going up into the manor. Okay, so this fight is going to be incredibly tough for you guys. I'm going to show you how I do it, and perhaps this will help you. I stay horseback, get his attention, and I ride over here to where these giant stakes are in the ground by a fire. And basically what I do is I just kind of dance around them, bob and weave in between them to keep the boss on the other side of them. By doing that, I can just continuously cast Night Maiden's Mist, Comet, just keep dishing out damage to him, keeping him stuck on the other side there. So it might take you guys a lot of tries to do it that way. I'm not sure what your best method is, but at one point you will need to kill him to get the hidden tier. Alright, so then again from Erdtree Gazing Hill, if you follow these little blue markers to Seathwater there, and we're traveling around the base of the volcano now. So I came all the way around here, circling the lower levels through the lava on horseback, up to that grace right there, the shack, and then you'll be standing in Hermit Village. So right here's a boss. I'd recommend just riding right by her, get the grace and rest at it, so that way everyone kind of resets. Now we can collect the Azura's Comet spell. And now we can equip it and even cast it if we put all of the proper buffs on with the Wondrous Physic Flask, and I believe we might have a talisman that helps as well. I think it's just the Physic Flask at this point. And you pair it with the Hidden Tier for the 10 seconds of unlimited FP. Get all the buffs on, and you can do exactly what I do, and that will grant you another memory stone from killing her. Okay, so at the start of the Grand Lift, if you actually turn around and just follow those markers that I showed, you'll end up down here at the Golden Lineage Everjail. So inside is where we fight a familiar boss. He will not get a Phase 2 transformation, however. So I like to start with the Comet again with the unlimited FP. But when he goes to throw these, make sure you switch to that shield. The nice thing is they won't ever have fire on them in this arena fight. So if you just play it really safe, keeping your distance, casting, whenever he throws those at you, just switch to your shield and block them. That will get you the Godfrey Icon. Okay, so then right in here is going to be a hidden tunnel that we'll find. And that's going to take us to the Amber Starlight, which is the quest item that the magic guy needs that we were talking to earlier. So now if we go back to the Roundtable, we need these giant doors open. So if yours aren't open yet, you need to speak to Gideon, or you need to come up here, interact with the fingers and the maiden lady in here. Once you do that, reload to the Roundtable. Those doors should now be unlocked to the library. And inside is Gideon. You might need to speak with Nefeli in here as well, just outside the doors. And basically, I just show him the potion. I go for the fastest route with a lot of these quests. So I just give it to him instead of actually poisoning Nefeli. So now I ride back to his tower, where I report the false news. I'm going to lie to him and tell him that I gave it to her, but really I didn't. So now at this point, you need to buy all of his spells. So make sure you have enough runes to buy all of them. Ask him about Nefeli, exhaust all of his dialogue. And now he should, at least he's supposed to open up new dialogue options. It could be a little buggy. So first what we're going to do is we're going to ride over here. And there's a hidden door marked, and that's his hidden chambers. So this should help us open up that dialogue option with him. He's got a little message here, and then there's a fake wall. So now that we've found his hidden chambers, we're going to go back to him, and he's going to have some new dialogue options. Okay, so he's going to make you choose a puppet. So go ahead and pick one. And then he needs you to buy the other puppet before finishing his quest here. So it requires collecting Starlight Shards, which we've already collected. So all you do is drop them on the floor, leave them for yourself, recollect them. And then I believe I had to save and quit the game. And then when I loaded back in, I then had new dialogue options from him. Yeah, so here we go, just a save and quit. And now I have, I want a new puppet.
What's that? Quite the king. Pardon? But I'm afraid I can hardly. Oh, dear. Why don't you? If you can, the soul of it, and once each. Oh, yes.
So once we go ahead and buy the last puppet from him, and we've bought all the sorceries,
You're proving I've not had.
when you speak to him, it should now complete the quest.
For another lesson. That'll make.
There we go, our final dialogue option.
Which I employed.
And you say you're interested, but this is actually where the quest ends if you want to. You don't need to go any further than this. Once he has the Amber Starlight, that's as far as I take the quest, because then he's going to give us the ring, the magic scorpion charm.
Please. It's all yours. Split.
So once you obtain the ring, that's it. If you want, you can keep doing his quest line, but you can also leave it right there. And with that talisman, we're going to be ending part 1 of the walkthrough right there. I do apologize, I was having some uploading issues and was required to separate the video into 2 parts. So there should be a link on screen for you to click, and we'll head over there.